And hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Woo Woo. And today I want to talk a bit about So welcome to Icehouse Hill, which is one of Dundalk's parks, one of their public parks, and it's really nice. It's very early morning here, and there's a nice crisp kind of bite to the air, and it's very nice. There's a couple of people around walking their dogs. There's a lovely lake over there. What more could you want of a morning? So what I wanted to talk a bit about in this video was my experience yesterday of starting counselling, and this has been on the cards for a long while. It's something I want to do for a good while, and I was on a waiting list for a lot longer than I expected, but we got there in the end. I just actually got a phone call the day before going, can you start tomorrow? I went, yes. So slightly trepidatious going down and into this, because you know this type of thing's hard. As much as I like talking about myself, it's much easier to do to the kind of somewhat empty vacuum of a YouTube channel or a podcast or something like that. I know there's plenty of comments and all that kind of stuff, but what I mean is in the initial talking, while I'm talking right now, I'm talking to no one, and I can decide whether or not to upload this, to finish it. I can stop the recording at any point, and it's a very different dynamic when you're talking to someone live, as it was. I also had a bit of a stressful day yet. I'm still in the middle of moving my office, still waiting on carpet tiles. That's a whole story in and on itself. But my office is a mess at the minute, full of boxes and full of different things, so the whole clutter is adding to my general anxiety. And I also had to do my tax yet, so I had a lot going on. And around about 11 o'clock, my appointment was at 1:45, and around about 11 o'clock I started getting a really bad headache. So I assumed this was all kind of related to the whole thing. When I went in to, it's actually just not that far from here where it is, when I went into the council, your one was lovely, it was very nice, and she says it's going to be basically an awful lot of me writing down things and kind of probing you and trying to suss you out and kind of stuff. So it's not, in a sense, an actual session, if you want. You know, it's not going to be indicative of how it will be for future ones. She says you will get 8 of them, not including that one. So just went through all the different kind of stuff, and very kind of cursory surface level stuff, get a general feel of, you know, my growing up, my family, my current situation, my general kind of outlook, all of those things. And about halfway through it, my headache was getting really bad. It was getting really kind of intense. And at one stage towards the end, I had to do a kind of a test, which I assume, I was going to say I assume is just what to do to see, you know, how you feel at the beginning, how at the end, but I'll talk another reason why I think that happened in a second. And I started disassociating it. Disassociation, what I'm referring to when I call disassociating, is kind of when you go into it's like a dream, kind of, you feel like real life is a dream, like your day-to-day life right now, what you're interacting like has this kind of dream-like quality. It's almost like you're drunk, but without a buzz or without any sort of good feeling around it. You know, it can be quite disorientating, and it can be quite kind of hard to deal with. But it usually happens to me, which is strange, in supermarkets. That's the main place I get it, and I don't have to be under any kind of particular stress or anything like that, but that's the time I notice the most. It used to happen to me a lot when I was a sound engineer too, at the end, when I've been around an awful lot of people towards the end of the night and stuff like that, which just makes more sense to me that way. But anyway, so I said it to her, and that's what was happening, and she's going, well, you know, to be fair, if I've thrown an awful lot of questions at you, and if I was in your kind of half of the room, I would probably feel a bit of like disassociating too. So it was kind of grand, you know. She didn't put any pressure or make any big deal about it. So then it was, there's an awful lot of people arriving all at once. I'm beginning to get very self-conscious. So then there was a kind of a case of that she says there is a thing that's going on, and it's a big study that's been done by Trinity, and it would involve doing a 2-hour talk. Okay, that was a bit intense. It's a bit intense for me. It's normal for parks, I suppose. But the whole park was empty, and then all of a sudden there was about 20 people walking towards me, and freaked me out, to be quite honest about it. Particularly as the way I was talking about kind of this type of stuff and all that. But yeah, that was very odd. Like, and now the park is empty yet again straight away. Odd. Anyway, so there's this thing that's happening, this study that's been done by a doctor in Trinity, and it's about general anxiety disorder, or that I think what it is, which is what she thinks I may have, in that it's not like one thing that happened to you. It's not like a car accident and now you have PTSD or you're suffering after it. There seems to be a general level of anxiety to being Tommy Kelly. So it involves doing a 2-hour interview with him, and then if you are accepted, if I am accepted, if I have this, what they think it is, then you get 20 sessions. That seems like an awful lot to me, an awful lot of thing. So that kind of got me a bit fearful and anxious around the whole thing. And so I said that to her. I just decided, same as when I was going in and doing the Reikis, I'm just going to be as honest as I can here. And I noticed I wasn't, though. I was still having this kind of a thing of trying to say the right things. And also trying not to come across as just someone who complains, and like the whole point of going to like therapy, whatever, is to complain in many ways. And if you're not going to say how it is, then there's no real point in doing it, I suppose. But there is that kind of I have this kind of thing that's emerging that I've noticed. I have a need to appease people in the hope that they don't get annoyed with me. And so that can be quite efforting when you're, as with social interactions and stuff like that, which is why I tend to, for a lot of the time, just stay away from it. But anyway, so I think that was what I was saying earlier on when I did this test, this kind of computer test, where you have to pick, in the last 2 weeks, have you felt whatever, the different type of things, and then you had to pick not at all and every day. And it was hard, and that was weird, because usually when you do those tests, you're on your own, and it's kind of as if it's going into the ether or whatever, but this wasn't. This was her in the room, kind of not exactly looking over my shoulder, but in a way, hovering around. So I kind of felt under pressure that I wouldn't normally have felt in those type of tests. Oh yeah, how's it going? And so given the test, I answered it as honestly as I could, and I was kind of asked her on a few questions. Goes, well, I kind of agree with this and I kind of don't, but there's no answer that I could give that is kind of representative of how I feel about it. She says, don't think about it too much, don't overanalyze it, whatever. And it's kind of like, oh, you don't know me at all. You learn. But we'll see. Anyway, I passed the test, I assume, or whatever. It's not that type of test, but I think that was the test then to see if I was suitable for this kind of this bigger study that's going on with Trinity. So that's kind of it on that bit. It was like, so I just said, yeah, right, I'll do it, because, feel the fear, do it anyway and all that. And I as I spoke before, but I don't think you have to do everything that makes you scared or you're fearful of. But you should do the stuff to get you closer to your mountain or your goal. The mountain is a reference to Neil Gaiman's speech on YouTube. So my head was getting really sore, and I started disassociating and whatever. And we left, and I organised when the next session was and all that. And then I started to feel the most hungover I've ever felt in my life. I felt like I was going to get sick. I felt really out of it. Really, I couldn't focus. I couldn't do it. And I had to drive, and I was going, well, I can't drive like this. And it was really bad. Like I felt really, really unwell, really sick, really nauseous, really out of it. That kind of thing of, when you're hungover and you just can't deal with anything. It was that. And that lasted about an hour and a half. And that was quite alarming. I was talking to my sister about it then afterwards, and she says that sounds a bit like a migraine. I don't know. We will see. I hope that never happens again. I assume it was just the stress of the whole thing and the whole kind of day that was involved in it. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll tell her about that too. So it was all in all, it was good. It was like, as I say, very cursory, very kind of initial, and it was after there was loads of things that I said, oh, I should have told her that, but there's plenty of time to all of these things. I'm not going to do it in the way I did the Reiki diaries, in that I'm going to give like a pre and a post video, or a video where I talk before I go in and talk it out, because there'll be stuff in it obviously that I don't want to talk about in the YouTube channel, and there's stuff that I will be talking about that involves other people that it would be totally unfair to talk about in the YouTube channel. And I could just talk about my feelings around it, but it'd be quite kind of, I suppose in one sense disingenuous or kind of hiding around facts or trying to talk around things, and I don't want to do that. But I will do general kind of updates on what's going on with it, and what benefit or non-benefit I'm getting from it, and all those type of things. So I'm excited about it. I'm hopefully it does something for me. It's coming at a good time too, because I'm also doing a lot of the Regia stuff, the Alan Chapman stuff, and finally somewhat getting my head around the whole binding thing, and that has been very revelatory, and I found some very interesting things about how I view the world and how I view different things, particularly around self-worth and self-acceptance and stuff like that. I'm just seeing how particular scenes or in early childhood or when I was young have massively influenced me over the years in different ways than I suspected. Like I was always aware of these kind of scenes, but I thought they meant different things, whereas in the kind of that I drew from them, it's very different from what I suspected, which is great. It's also horrifying, because what other nonsense or what other stuff is going through my head. I was reading Reality by Peter Kingsley last night, and I finished a story waiting to appear, which we were doing in the study group. I did the video with that yesterday, and I did that on Monday. I was as shocked as anyone that there was only 5 chapters in that, and that most of the book was actually his notes and references. But so I'm still reading Reality, and I really enjoy Peter Kingsley. The story waiting to appear I'll have to read again, because I felt, not to spoil you in the study group, but I felt kind of dissatisfied by the end, and I don't think I got it, in that it sounded like stuff I've heard loads of times before, and like not kind of, it's like, oh yeah, but we know that kind of thing. In a way, I don't know, I'll come back to it. Anyway, reading Reality last night with Peter Kingsley, and it's getting towards the end. It's a long book, it's nearly 600 pages. And he's talking about the idea that I first came across, well, probably not first, but the thing that sticks in my mind most is in The Matrix, the second one. Is that Reloaded or Revolutions? Whatever it is, Reloaded, I think. Where he's talking to the Oracle, and the Oracle says something along the lines of that you've already made all the choices, all of these decisions have already been made. You're just here to witness them or experience them or something like that. And Peter Kingsley talks about the same type of thing, in the sense of that there is no free will. All of these things, all that has ever happened to you, has, that's what was meant to be. That was decided. There was no other way. You sitting there watching this video now, listening to this podcast, there was no other way that could have happened. You didn't decide to do it. In a sense, you're just here to witness it, or to experience it, or live it in some way. And if that's an interesting one, because while it's also somewhat, I'm going to use the word horrifying again, even though I've used it earlier. It's my word for the day. It's also quite liberating, in the sense that it takes an awful lot of blame out of everything, out of what people have done to you, what you've done to people, mistakes you've made, regrets, things you haven't done that you should have done. To think, or to kind of sit with the idea that that was the only way it could have been, kind of negates the whole thing of regrets, because you haven't done it any other different way. That's just what was always going to happen, no matter what you did. Also rules out time travel, I suppose, indirectly. But and I kind of like that. I kind of like sitting with it. I don't know if I agree with it. I don't know if I believe it. I can't possibly know anyway. But in a very chaos magic-y way, I'm going to sit with that for a while and see how that perspective, that paradigm changes problems or issues or outlooks, and my general perspective on things, or on my past, and on about things that I'm trying to work on with myself. If you totally take out the blame, if you totally take out the decision making, if you totally take out all of those things, the free will out of everything that's happened to you in your life, and that it could only have been this way, that it's predetermined, you're only here to witness, experience, live it, whatever that word is. None of them are exactly, I think, the right one to understand it, maybe. Then that's a very different life. That's a very different experience. That's a quite different approach. And I think it's one that I'm going to enjoy kind of sitting with. Ultimately, I might reject it in the end, but I might not. So yeah, that's a long kind of tangent out of I started counselling actually, which I suppose is kind of my mindset going into it or whatever. So that's it. As I said, there'll be the kind of sporadic updates in this. I'm hoping beyond hope that I will be in the office this week, the new office, and we can start making some videos from there. I'll still try and get out, and I like being out in nature and doing stuff, but I hopefully don't get attacked by 20 people all at once. That was intense, that really was. That felt like a zombie movie or some sort of horror movie where all of a sudden, you know, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they're coming to get you. Like, it was still, like, since then, I know a couple of people passed, but it's been like kind of, not in that wave. That was like, yeah, it's like a wave in Left 4 Dead or something. Anyway, good people of the internet, until our next adventure, be well.